welcome to Wrestling and Everything, Coast to Coast with your host, Buddy Sotelo, Esquire, and Dr. Mike Leno, and Evan Ginsberg. Get that out of the way. Not so effervescent, but not as green as you were last week. At least you're
It's
looking.
just lighting. It's just the
Yeah, I
lighting.
know. It's just
Not
lighting
Evan.
or radiation. It's the New York radiation that
That's
somehow makes
right.
you guys able to withstand the summers and the winters out there, which
It was a brutal winter. I'll be on both of your couches next winter. I'm just letting you
I,
know.
that's
All
why we
right.
live. The rent is high, but we live
Yes.
out here
Hey,
for a
you had
reason.
hotter weather than LA, and that's not even including whatever heat was going on with the Warriors. You
I
had
could ha I
it was
could
like
handle
81.
heat.
It's 81 in the Bay Area. That was San Francisco. It's where it's the
Yeah, and we
coolest.
had 92 degrees a couple days ago, or about 4 or 5 days ago.
Don't tell me the way we've effed up the environment isn't the cause of all this mess.
It's well, you have a lot of people saying that they're just waiting for Mount Olives to open up and get in line for the afterlife. So you
Oh,
know.
the 42 virgins thing.
Yeah, and well, that whole thing that James Watt believed in, I don't know if you go back politically far enough to remember James Watt, but he wanted to use up all of Earth's resources back in the 80s because he was sure Jesus was coming, and he wanted to show Jesus how productive we were, by using up all the world's resources before
That
came
sounds
from.
very selfish to me.
Speaking of
Well,
Jesus, this one MAGA guy was telling me that Jesus would approve of Build the Wall and would ask a weary traveler for their green card before giving them a warm meal and a bed. So that's my
unbelievable.
Jesus. That's my
Yeah,
Jesus
that's
reference for the
unbelievable.
show. Yeah,
Yes,
unbelievable.
of course, those are the people that say that Jesus Christ was the greatest American who ever lived.
Those are the people who think they're spiritual.
American.
Yes, they've said it. I swear to you, they have. Well, I mean, and if people don't like this, hey, I was part of the No Kings March in my town
Good
on
for you.
Saturday with my kids, and it
Wait a
was.
minute. The only kings are Ernie Ladd, Bobby Shane, Roger Rip Kirby,
Thank you,
obviously Harley Race.
thank
There were a
you.
couple of others in there.
Haku,
Yeah, King Haku,
Hacksaw,
King Booker.
Jerry Lawler
Hacksaw. Remember Hacksaw won King of the Ring
and
once.
King Records with James
Owen
Brown
Hart.
and Bobby Bird.
Owen Hart was King of the Ring, and so
Yeah, I'm
Stone
not really
Cold.
including them. I'm calling, guys in the territory
Oh, who
days.
who
Like Bobby
really
Shane
were?
was one of the very first kings of wrestling.
And King
And
the
Ernie Ladd.
Moondog.
Ernie
Don't
Ladd
forget
was
King the
so,
Moondog.
And the Macho
yeah.
King.
But no. Ernie Ladd, I think, was even better than Jerry Lawler. Ernie Ladd with the crown and just the pattern, the promos that this guy cut. I
It's
think I'm
true.
going to send everybody on a serious level. Evans saw him and heard him. It was out of this world. And the first African American booker, Bill Watts allowed him or had him book and asked him to. They were very close friends. And man, Ernie Ladd was the greatest. He
I'm
was the
still going
greatest.
with
He was
Jerry the
so
King
amazing.
Lawler. I'm still going with Jerry the King
Well,
Lawler
Jerry ain't bad. Jerry like
because
carried
the
that
thing is,
territory on his back.
because he never changed character. He was always the king. Ernie Ladd went through different phases where he was the king for a while, but he was also Big Cat, and
Well,
he
in
was,
Houston, he would do babyface stuff, and with Paul Bush, I've gone on a deep dive. I don't know if I've sent you guys, but I should send you guys some links. You just go to YouTube and the history of Houston Paul Bush wrestling. What a territory packed with talent. And like on his retirement show, WWE allowed him a retirement show when they kind of bought him out and he retired. He was ailing. I think that was 87. But it was like they had Bruno was on the card and they had, I think Terry Funk had to miss it at the last minute, but they were going to have like the current AWA, the current Tri-WF, which was Bruno, and the current NWA champion, all on one star-packed card with Moskowitz, Jose Lothario, anybody that was anybody, Red Bastien, any of the Fritz von Erich, whoever were a big deal. Ernie Ladd was, I believe, on that show and just stacked. What a promoter! What a fantastic territory! It was, I mean, Florida at times with, main events for opening matches. Houston was incredible. That's why I'm going to have that on my tombstone. Something about the territories, missing the territories.
Yeah.
Traveling the territories.
No, we're going to put on your funeral headstone. It's going to say, and now I'll shut up. I'll shut up now. That's
Well, you know how passionate I am. Evan knows because he saw them too. Passionate about the territories. Every territory
I
was
didn't
so
go to
fun.
as many as you did, but I did go to Florida. I saw Flair and Wahoo in a cage, which was amazing.
Wow.
And I
Wow.
saw Sullivan's Army with Lewin and Bob Roop, and that was great. I went down to Memphis. I saw the Moondogs against Lawler and Jarrett, and they tore the place up. But I didn't hit as many as you did,
Wait, Evan,
honestly.
what was the undercard to the Florida one that you were at with the cage match
Um,
on top?
Harley Race wrestled, I forget the guy's name, top-notch black wrestler. I forget his name.
And that's Sweet Brown Sugar?
No, 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 no. That
when
Sweet
when
Bre
my grandparents lived in Florida, I would go down and visit Florida, and so I would watch the Florida Championship Wrestling stuff down there. And at the time, it was Wahoo McDaniel in a contest against this new guy that no one had heard of named Lex Luger.
Uh,
And that was like
uh,
those were literally like the first couple matches that Lex had really had, kind of big time capacity.
Luger in the mid to late 80s in the NWA wrestling Flair and everybody. He was actually very good. He's gotten a bad rap.
yeah.
I mean, I saw that guy in one. I mean, he wasn't Terry Funk level. He wasn't Ricky Steamboat, but he was a really decent wrestler. I mean, he was horrible in WWF as a face, but Luger, I saw time and time again where I enjoyed him. History hasn't been kind to him.
Mark Lewin, though, as a heel, so amazing to me because he was like the epitome babyface teamed up with Don Curtis in
Purple
the
Haze,
late
right?
Yeah,
50s and
Purple Haze,
60s.
yeah.
Yeah, but you have to see him as just a beloved babyface. And he never turned heel in Detroit. He'd come in every 9, 10 months in the early 70s to wrestle with Sheik and the
But
ultimate
he
babyface
was
there.
never good as a face. I mean, he connected so much better as Maniac Mark
Yeah,
Where Purple
watch him
Haze
against the
was.
Sheik. He's a bloody mess, and he loses a loser leave town. This is when Creechman was managing him, so I'm guessing it was 73, instead of the Grand Wizard, aka Abdullah Farouk, Ernie Roth,
Yes.
who was quite the manager. And I mean, Lewin was something else, and a wild man, later on. He
Yeah, no, but when he was at Sullivan's Army, he really hit his stride. That's
Yeah, that
Purple
was pretty
Haze.
packed when you look at the talent. Bob Roop, who was a fantastic amateur, and Russ doesn't even know Bob Roop was main eventing at the Cow Palace when Roy lost Stevens and Pat Patterson to Rocky Johnson and Peter Maivia in 70, early 76, late 75. He went with Kevin Sullivan. He asked Eddie Graham to send him a new hot baby face. Sullivan brought with him Roop to feud with for like a year and a half nearly. And they were doing respectable business at the Cow Palace, not quite selling it out the way Pat had, but very close. 85%
At
capacity,
that
which when you
time, though, I'm not even sure it was still even on TV at that point.
no, no, he was still on TV. Roy basically had TV until like late 77 when he lost earlier he'd lost Channel 2. He wouldn't stop spitting his cigar juice on the floors. And then he was relegated to Sacramento, and really a lot of the talent didn't want to drive there. It was so far away from, a good hour and a half plus from the San Francisco area. So
Of
Roy,
course,
in
now
late
people commute
77,
from
he
there.
started using Don Owens. He had Don Owens send down his TV with simply localized promos for the Cow Palace shows. He cut back on his house shows. Then after a couple of years of that, he went with Kansas City, which completely blew. The wrestlers they were sending, Bulldog Bob Brown and Bob Sweetan, just weren't cutting it. It wasn't what the Cow Palace people were used to seeing. And the last 6 months, Roy wisely went with Eddie Graham, and they would do the same thing, send in their TV with localized San Francisco interviews, but like all of the talent, Wyndham, Lord Al Hayes, who was still wrestling as a respectable heel, Barry Windham, they're sending all this talent. Like Dusty had a six-man as one of the main events with Barry Windham and Mike Graham, teaming, and they brought in to kick that off because Buddy Rose had been fired yet again, and so the U.S. title was held up, and so he claimed that there was the finals of this tournament around the U.S. for the U.S. championship, and even though there was like 4 U.S. championships, like Detroit's,
all regional,
Mid-Atlantic, yeah, it was crazy, but Dusty Rhodes against Ole Anderson, bless you. And Dusty beat Ole. I shot that ringside. Great match with 2 of the greatest talkers. And the promo they cut before the match, out of this world. Ole and Dusty, that was their debut. Neither one had ever wrestled at the Cow Palace before.
Speaking of 77, I happen to have this.
Ooh.
I was going through my stuff. The Garden.
Yeah, hold it right in front of your face. It's fine.
Peter Maivia and Backlund, and there's Dusty and Von Raschke on the back cover.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And
did Dusty wrestle Von Raschke? I know Von Raschke was there.
Obviously he did.
Well,
I know that,
Billy
but I meant not in Tri-WF. That might have been like a Florida.
Those guys just like travel, everywhere and find.
No, but Von Raschke was managed by Blassie. It was specific.
Nice.
There you go. And let's see the rest of that clipping of what was it? Or read off. What are the matches? Superstar Graham against
Graham and Dusty, Steele and Maivia, Bob Backlund against Pretty Boy Larry Sharp, and those were the main 3 matches.
Wait a minute. Does it say Smiling Maivia?
Yeah, Smiling Maivia. Yeah.
Oh
really?
My God!
Wow, that's that. I never heard him call.
Evan, you got to take a pic. Will you take a cell phone picture and send that to me?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Somebody wants to buy this from me, and it has sentimental value. So
don't sell that clipping.
No, but you can scan it and share it with us if you.
Yeah, and the same guy wants to buy this from me. This is Backlund and Backlund and Hansen.
Oh yeah! Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Ev, can you open up and read the lineup? You might not have the results, or you might have the results, but what's the lineup for that big card?
Hansen and Backlund, Patterson and Slaughter, but not the boot camp match. Morales against Rex Moondog, Mascaras against King Moondog, Sharp and Rods against Guerrero and Martel, Killer Khan and Danucci, Yatsu against Bulldog Brower, Cicluna and S.D. Jones. I saw them wrestle 1,037 times. And the women, Leilani Kai and Mueller against Jill Fontaine and Suzette Ferreira. So,
you take in the Cicluna S.D. Jones? Who do you take? Who wins that one?
A lot of times they had 20-minute draws. They did it as openers. But sometimes SD would win.
So he was young in his career. Maybe they let him go over.
So I was actually very disappointed with that Backlund Hansen cage match. It was It was like 8 minutes, and Backlund just dominated. It really was. I mean, Backlund and Patterson in the cage was amazing. Well,
why didn't Stan put up a better fight? I'm surprised.
The implication was that Hansen wasn't cooperating in Backlund's book, and Backlund just, kind of roughed him up a little. I don't know. I mean, I'm paraphrasing from Backlund's book.
Because even then, Hansen had his Japanese career, primarily New Japan. He didn't bop back and forth between All and New Japan the way Brody did. But so they didn't like doing jobs, and that would be airing on the USA Network at that point, or whatever the name of that network was. On Monday nights they would have the. I don't understand. Were they just doing that, airing those MSG shows because they knew they were already sold out, and that way people.
It was extra money, and They add the Philadelphia Spectrum shows in Philadelphia and other major arenas. Just extra money for them. Cable TV was coming in the 80s, and
But that's
pro
amazing. Nobody else, you had to go to the arena, and because MSG and they probably sold out, it was still called the Felt Forum, in the theater within Madison Square Garden, where you could go in. If you couldn't get a ticket to go see it in person, you just watched it on the screen, and they sold those venues out.
the
But that was
Felt
before they.
Forum the Felt Forum would open when it was an absolute sellout, like Graham and Dusty, like the one I showed you before. And it was like an additional 4,000 seats at $20 a pop. And $20 in 1977 was a lot of money.
Yeah.
So, they would have 27,000 people there. And then, afterwards, Vince and Triple H, they spin, oh, we took it out of VFW halls and you know, we took it out of bingo halls. Meanwhile, they had these massive arenas up and down the East Coast that were doing crazy business month after month. So the Garden would run 12 to 14 shows a year. Now, when Hogan came in, he only appeared on 4 or 5 a year because, he wasn't. First of all, they had spread out. They were running multiple shows a night, sometimes 3 or 4 shows a night. But, Hogan didn't do what Bruno or Backlund or Pedro or even Billy Graham did. They were there each and every month, month after month after month. And Hogan was almost like a special attraction, like Dusty and Andre and Mil Mascaras, where they would come in and it was a big deal. But,
Well,
yeah, I
it's
went
an
pretty much
interesting
every
subject.
month from 74 to 85 before Vince went like full circus kiddie show late 80s.
Well, this is
What
a
was
perfect
it?
segue. This is a perfect segue for the fact that today is the 39th anniversary of WrestleMania 3. And if you want to talk about, probably the biggest WrestleMania in history for what it did and how it really solidified the WrestleMania brand. Because WrestleMania 1 was an experiment. Vince had to put his
It was a
house on that.
horrible card. The undercard just was nothing major, but it was such a spectacle, of course. We all marked out for it, watching it in
WrestleMania
closed
2
circuit.
was admittedly, most people say, one of the worst WrestleManias ever.
And a
Even though
financial failure.
except that's the one I've been to. The only WrestleMania that
It's
I've
your
been to.
fault. It was your fault.
Exactly. I did.
Wait
I
a minute,
think
which one did you go to? You went to the LA for Hogan
yeah,
Bundy? And you know
the
where that
Hogan.
cage, that powder blue cage, that came
Yes.
from our
Yep.
office. I've told you this a million times. When Vince bought out Mike LaBelle, December of '82, he got the few remaining office assets. That was our second and last Blassie steel cage, the powder blue one used for Hogan Bundy and a few other WWF things
By
at
and
the
large,
time.
it's rarely ever been
But,
used.
but and also the actual promoter, the late great Zane Bresloff, who did a lot of work with WCW, but he promoted WrestleMania 3. He was the one that told Meltzer the attendance was just a tad over the legit 78,000, not 93. That's a work number. This
Wow.
came from the
So
actual promoter who had to report it,
it's
to
still
the state and the
a lot
city.
of people
Yeah,
to
yeah,
draw.
amazing amount
And
of people. It was amazing visually, so it doesn't really,
yes,
matter, but
I mean
just
most
the
people
fact that they would
feel.
lie, it's like always overbill a guy's height and weight and
But for a lot of people, when they
overclaim.
talk about their favorite WrestleMania, they almost always are talking about WrestleMania 3. I mean, that usually gets
Steamboat and
mentioned.
Savage may have been the greatest WrestleMania match ever.
Yeah.
Just
Just like
why a lot of
you
people
were there,
mention it.
Evan, for Dynamite Kid Tiger Mask, the greatest match ever, at least in MSG. Many said the greatest
Yes.
WWF match ever. What was that like in person, Dynamite and Tiger Mask, Satoru
Well,
Sayama?
this is pre-internet, 82, pre-cell phone, with the exception of tape traders, and I wasn't a tape trader. These guys came down the aisle and we had heard of them. I mean, they were primitive sheets back then, and they had a great reputation, but it was it was a big man, super heavyweight territory. And you're used to like these big guys like, King Kong Mosca on top or Bill Eadie, these big guys. And all of a sudden, Dynamite Kid and Tiger Mask are doing stuff we'd never seen. It's like our mouths were hanging open. It's like we didn't know what hit us. It was like they had dropped from another planet. It was
How did the
wrestling.
crowd react though? Were they going out
Oh,
of their minds?
they were totally into it. They were
Wow.
totally into it, and like gasping, like we had never seen anything like this. It was not that kind of territory, and it was such an extreme, change from. I mean, those guys really revolutionized the business, which is another
Yeah.
reason Dynamite Kid easily should have been in the Hall of Fame, their Hall of Fame. But yeah, it was a thrill to be there. It was one of the great moments. I was there for Snooker and Morocco, Snooker jumping off the cage. I was there for Snooker jumping off the cage on Backlund. I was there for multiple title changes.
And a lot of
Um,
people forget that Snuka didn't even win against Morocco, but they were going
yeah,
out
it
of their
didn't
minds because it
matter.
was so
It didn't matter.
spectacular.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was such
people
a
forget.
spectacular night.
And what I tell people, it was like we didn't even know for sure he was going to do it because we had never seen anything like that. He starts climbing the cage, and I'm with my friend, Scott Bernstein, who's also a dentist, and I'm like, no, he's not going to jump off the cage. Come on, And then when he jumped upwards. He didn't, it was amazing.
Well,
And
it was the
as
first time
he,
anyone had done that.
yeah, and as he leapt off the cage, 1,000 flash cubes went off, and it was just so dramatic.
Wow.
And after he landed, the place just roared for like 5 straight minutes after. It was amazing. I tell people it was the greatest moment I ever saw in wrestling. The match itself was a quickie match, but that moment was
Well, it changed
unbelievable.
wrestling forever because that super high spot off the top of the cage
Yeah.
is now, I hate to say it, almost commonplace. Now you have people suplexing people off the top of the cage. You have people,
Sometimes it's not even the finisher.
no, it rarely is. It's
They
usually a
come off the top of the
mid-match.
cage and then they just keep wrestling.
Yeah, no, it's usually a mid-match kind of
Oh.
thing, which I don't get either. Yeah, like
Like,
jumping off the
last
top
night
of
I'm
the cage.
watching Collision, and there were at least two, if not three, tombstone pile drivers that look killer, and the guy kicks out at two.
And it's just really,
Come on, you can't.
instead of
It,
making the guy look strong, it makes the move look weak. That's the problem, is that when you refuse to sell stuff like that. First of all, one thing that I've been doing also, in my spare time when I have it,
Throwing your kids off the top of cages.
no, is that I do watch a lot of retro wrestling stuff, and I've been going through a lot of world championship wrestling for world class wrestling from like the '86 time frame, and I'm enjoying it a lot. But I'm also picking up certain notes on stuff like the fact that you could use a corkscrew neck breaker as a finisher back then, and people bought that. A
well,
lot of
look at
big,
Freddie Blassie's Southern Neck Breaker. It didn't look that great, but the people would go out of their minds again when he was a babyface in L.A. Whatever he
yeah,
did
no,
was
people would
golden.
buy that. I mean, there are a lot of figure fours being applied and used as a finisher. Simple splashes off the top rope
Let
would
me
be a
tell you my
finisher.
favorite finisher. So SD Jones would have the guy in the corner. Then SD Jones would charge in like 100 miles an hour.
And then the
And
guy would move.
inevitably, at the very last second, the guy would move.
And
SD
he
would
would
clunk his head on
Yep.
the top
get
turnbuckle.
rolled up.
And then he'd be looking at the lights, and Monsoon would sadly note, old SD went to the well once too
It's
often.
too often.
Yeah. And,
That's right.
as kids, we would, it was very sad, and, and he never seemed to learn from it.
No,
That was
never
my
mind.
favorite finisher.
Or the missed drop kick. The one where you miss the drop kick and you fall on your head, and then
Yeah.
you get pinned because then the guy puts his feet up on the ropes and gets the quick pin.
Any of Vince Senior's job guys, enhancement talent that he would send to us in L.A. Mike LaBelle, who acquiesced to Vince Senior, he put straps on him. Butcher Brannigan, who was Joe Nova, for years, jobbing, or Pork Chop Cash, Al Nelson, they become champions. And when he sent S.D. Jones to us, he immediately, within 2 weeks, he's one half America's Tag Champions with a job enhancement guy for Leroy McGurk in what was Mid-Southern before Bill Watts took it over and renamed it Mid-South, and Detroit for the Sheik. So Tom Jones, S.D. Jones, they're America's Tag Champs. They had the straps for like 5 months, kind of a record for us. And, that's just the tip of the iceberg. There were other jobbers. Johnny Rods came in and was doing a Sheik gimmick as Java Rook. And he told me, even at the time, I go, why do you have the same initials, first initials? He goes, so I wouldn't have to change it on my tights. Johnny Rod's Java Rook. And the Sheik called him up and cussed him out for, thanks for stealing my gimmick, you asshole. And he goes, I didn't even do that. Vince sent me to L.A. I didn't want to be there. He cut his thing short because he missed his wife and kids so much. He's told me, and he was managed by Piper, the very first guy Piper managed, and then was Oscar Crutcher Verdue, who was the guy Bruno, had met in the '60s for the big title there. But Johnny Rods is Java Rook doing a crazy man Sheik gimmick, eating flies out of thin air and all the stuff Sheik did.
Wow.
There was, Great Mephisto also copied the Sheik doing that stuff.
Yeah, well, of course, everything's borrowed from somewhere, pretty much,
But the Sheik, when Sheik, Giant Baba, for one of the champion carnivals, booked them together as a tag team, to go against the Funks and Abby and whoever else it was. But it wasn't Abby and Sheik. Sheik is paired with Frankie Kane, Great Mephisto, doing a total Sheik in Florida and in San Francisco. Sheik is on that tour bus picking him up at the airport. He goes right up to him on the tarmac, slaps him in the face. He goes, thanks for stealing my fucking gimmick. And then they were fine as a tag team. They did everything Baba asked them to do. But he wanted to get that out. He hated anybody stealing his gimmick that he perfected.
Wow.
Again, the most colorful guy I have ever seen in person. I was so close to him. He was unfucking believable. Pardon my language tonight. Whatever territory he was, or seeing him at Kobo was magic. L.A. magic against Blassie or Tolis, or Furpo or Ed Carpentier. I can't say enough good things about Killer Kowalski and the Sheik, my two favorite all-time heels of all time. Monster heels. They had aura up the yin yang like nobody else. That's what we loved about the 70s and, for late 60s on through 80s. The aura these guys had. Bruno, he didn't have to have music. He didn't have to, nothing. Even if he didn't have the title, just him walking down to the ring, the people would go ballistic. And, you did not see that or hear that to that extent. I miss that stuff. No pyro, no music, no girls on your arm.
Well, that's what you get from indie shows, now. All they have the music. Everybody does. Nobody goes to the ring without music except me with Super Destroyer 2000. That was because we did that on purpose because we were saying he was that old school
Bison
of a mass wrestler that he didn't need music.
Bison Smith.
Yes. Yeah.
Late great Bison.
Now another subject for conversation is that, and this happens every year, is the WWE has the Hall of Fame nominees. So I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on
Stephanie McMahon is going into the distinguished nepotism wing of the WWE Hall of Fame with Sharmell and the Bellas and the Bella twins and Brock Lesnar's wife, whose name I don't even remember.
Rhea.
Whatever.
Rena Mero, formerly Rena Mero.
Yeah, Mark Merrow's wife. Yeah.
You could, between all of them, you could count their great matches on maybe two hands, maybe. And I I just hope it's not a rerun of last year when they gave Ivan Koloff, one of the greatest of all time, 90 seconds, and then Triple H did 90 minutes and was given a statue by his fawning lackeys. I hope it doesn't get that ridiculous, because
I didn't watch last year's because it's kind of they put Ivan into the what do they call that wing where they don't
legacy
even
wing.
yeah, legacy wing. So, but usually the legacy guys get no speech. They just sort of, name them. Who
Yeah,
came up there? His family, his
The
widow, or
family
his
sat
son?
in the audience. They didn't even bring him up on stage. And right after, Triple
Uh,
H did 90 minutes. And that was his second induction. How
the Koloff
disrespectful.
beating Bruno in '71 for the title, the place went silent. People still talk about that. Ask Bill Apter, or Napolitano, they still talk about it. Nobody expected it. I think George may or may not have known. He certainly knew because he told me in advance of Billy Graham taking it from Bruno. But the Koloff thing just shocked. It was huge front page magazine news for most of '71,
Koloff
early
was so
'72.
great. That
Yeah.
guy, I would put him on the Mount Rushmore of foreign heels, whether
even though he was just
Russian
from
or
Canada.
Canadian
Yeah, even though he
foreign
was just from
heels.
But
Canada.
I'm not talking about the later Uncle Ivan. That was kind of it
Look,
broke my
as
heart
part of the
seeing I like that
Russians,
because the Tri-WF Ivan Koloff was a monster heel. He was
yeah, but the
great.
But the
Russians,
NWA Russians were on
yeah,
top. Those guys
Yeah,
were
yeah, they
also
were a
top.
really
yeah.
respected tag team. They
But
were.
he wasn't
The,
like if I got to see him in the AWA against Billy Robinson and Vern Gagne after he, dropped the title to Pedro. He was spectacular then as he was in the Tri-WF.
the
And
three-way Russian tag team, though, with Crusher Khrushchev, aka Barry Darso, and Nikita Koloff and Ivan Koloff. I thought that was one of the
it was,
greatest
yeah, it was fun.
six-man tag
But I
teams
think
of all
really
time.
look up Ivan Koloff in late '60s, early '70s because he wrestled in Montreal too for the Vachons. I mean, the opening match of some of those Vachon Grand Prix is Blackjack Mulligan and Lanza in the opening friggin' match. Koloff mid card. They had some outstanding cards, and their top heels were the Vachons were the faces, but the top heels were Kowalski, Don Leo Jonathan, and they were the ones put in there every night, getting Sheen Ferret, Andre the Giant going. They were the ones responsible for Andre Kowalski and Don Leo Jonathan, big monsters, and so this Hall of Fame. At least you have some deserving guys. I would have liked to see
Demolition,
as yeah,
Demolition is
Demolition. I would have liked to seen Dynamite, but I guess the politics before Alan Kovacs. But Alan Kovacs, Bad News Brown, certainly deserving. Who else is? Oh, and obviously AJ Styles is like the most decorated. So he's kind of like the main event guy. I don't know if they have one more left. And Cyndi Lauper, who I don't know what the fuck. She's not in that Hall of Fame. She is preparing her residency in Vegas. So she's actually there, and they're blowing it if they do not put her in now when they're in Vegas for greedy second year in a row. It is mind-boggling. There would be no Rock and Wrestling Connection. There would be no Hogan
yeah. Well, we
Ascension.
had the
None of that
museum
without her
guy.
lending. She put her credibility. As Evan and I, that was one of the questions I asked her. I go, did you, not fear? I know Dave Wolf, your boyfriend manager at the time, was the big wrestling guy, but you lent your credibility. Did you think it might, hurt your career or tarnish it in any way to be associated? And she's always talking about it, every show since the going into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. She's talking about Captain Lou Albano and Piper. I mean, what a sweetheart. And there would be none of this billion-dollar company without Cyndi Lauper. So
Yeah,
she should be the number one person going in this year, maybe on equal billing with AJ Styles, in my opinion. But they're not.
Absolutely.
They already have a celebrity. They have effing Dennis Rodman, who didn't even work for them. He
yeah.
worked for
That's a terrible
WCW.
nomination. That's a
Yeah.
terrible nomination. He only like wrestled what like four times or something like that.
I mean,
You
Bad
know.
Bunny has more credibility, or even Jelly Roll, who they're shoving down people's throats right now. If you guys are watching the TV,
No, I haven't. That's probably
yeah, he's
for.
been in like every segment. He's the one that's like telling Randy Orton, don't go to your bad side. You've done all this work to become a better person, and then Randy Orton shoves him down last Friday. That stuff is kind of entertaining, but I don't want to see him on WrestleMania. I would rather, I don't know,
With
have
2 nights of schlock that they've got 10 hours of content to fill. You
well,
better
it's going to
damn
be
well believe you're going to
16
see Jelly
matches,
Roll.
whereas they used to shove 16 matches into one night. What do you guys? Are there any matches? Obviously the two main events, are obviously worth watching: the Punk, Roman, and Randy and
Is
Cody.
that really going to be a great match, Punk Roman? You really think
Yeah,
that's
you
going to be a
should see
great
the
match?
promos they're cutting. Like Roman's calling him old, and he keeps
He is
calling him
old.
Phil. He keeps calling him Phil by his first name, and so I think last Monday, CM Punk called him Joe, which is his real name, Joe Anawahe.
Yeah, and I don't feel that's
But
going to
what
be a great
are
match.
you guys looking forward to any of the other stuff like Jade Cargill against Rhea Ripley? That could be,
Not
if Rhea carries
whatsoever.
her.
Not whatsoever.
I haven't been moved by any of the matches. I think that they really didn't. I think by letting Roman win the king of the king of the Royal Rumble, you know, match, I think they really booked themselves into a corner. I don't know why they're trying to push
These are high.
Roman.
These are the two main events that feel like main events. Out of what else could they do? Those are their four primetime players, and you're playing off the Cody thing, the history between the two, and it's like the teacher's
I
going
was
heel on
hoping
the
they would
student.
have Danhausen against Mr. Iguana on top, but he
Yeah,
disappointed me.
or I
Danhausen,
mean,
after disastrous introduction on whatever that was at the Royal Rumble, he now is the number one seller of T-shirts. He's doing
Guy's
the cursing
hilarious.
thing.
That guy's funny. I
He's
enjoy
over.
him.
yeah,
He's
but
over. He
I
is
worry.
entertaining.
I worry that the WWE is going to ruin him. They just look at their track record of just ruining guys when they have.
Well,
Although,
they're not ruining him right now. He's over he's putting a curse on the
I
Miz and Dominic
understand, but where are we going
Mysterio.
to be like 3 years from now? I mean, is it, when he's, working with, Doink version 15,
But here's Tony Khan had him, and he was over like a son of a bitch, and then he's just stopped using him. He was coming out with Orange Cassidy, and then I thought he was, Tony should have used him some more.
I
Sort
would
of like Britt
agree.
Baker. What is the deal? Why Britt Baker hasn't been on TV in nearly 2 years? What is going on with that? So talented, the face of that company.
After the scaling, Tony wasn't pleased with the dental work. I don't know.
No, it was the reality
Yeah.
show where she's on there, and I guess there was heat with her and Thunder Rosa, although they had an amazing death match, where Britt Baker had the face full of blood, the Crimson Mask, and Thunder Rosa's accusing AEW of not being able to write for women, all promotions, but
Thunder Rosa,
she's really down there.
and I worked at
We
Card
saw
with
her.
her.
She is in
Yeah,
APW. She was all
yeah,
over the place starting
yeah,
out. We
yeah.
saw
I
her. I
worked at
shot her
Card
a
with
million
her,
times.
and I think she's a really nice person in person, but she just has a hard time. I've never worked with her like, on a continuing day-to-day basis.
Go look at her AEW stuff. Look at her. If you didn't ever see the Britt Baker death match, that was a pretty amazing match. She needs good opponents.
But it's more behind the scenes stuff that she just doesn't get along with the feds that she's been with.
Yeah,
You know,
she's outspoken. She speaks truth to power, and honestly, she's right on a lot of stuff. But just go look at her against Britt Baker. That match was insane. I think that's what
I
she,
believe it. It's just I'm surprised she doesn't get along. She when I met her, she didn't seem like the kind of person that had a bad attitude.
well, she
But
had some injuries, and so Tony Khan had her doing Hispanic commentary when she was out for a good year to 14 months.
yeah,
Uh, but yeah,
so
some of these guys, it's if they speak up to management, they sometimes just get punished. And Britt Baker, I mean, that's just sheer punishment when she's the face of your company. and you're not using her, and she should be up there. She should be doing angles with MJF and stuff.
Well,
He's,
that is
you know,
one
really
of
the
one of
true face.
AEW's problems is focusing on who really should be the big stars. You
Well,
know,
MJF is clearly their biggest star,
Yeah.
especially if Osprey's not 100%. But I think of Osprey as the best in the world. But
He's
MJF,
going to be at London. It's going to be Osprey taking the title from MJF.
hmm.
So next, Osprey is going to defeat, you know, the guy that they were claiming put him out when he really
and
needed
then
the
it
neck
really is.
surgery.
Then it's really up to AEW to find a way to get Osprey to be recognized by people who aren't just wrestling fans. I think that's one of the biggest challenges of AEW is that they don't really get outside of the wrestling circle. You know, like the WWE does and gets coverage in like mainstream media, you know, and people talk about Jelly Roll and they talk about Bad
Well,
Bunny
ESPN is
being
putting
in.
WWE stuff on SportsCenter because ESPN is now,
They're tied
you know,
now
airing
to
their
all this.
pay-per-views.
Yeah.
You know, they're in bed with WWE, so
Right.
they did
Right.
put on something that was AEW related. I forget what it was, whether it was MJF or someone else, or maybe it was Osprey even. Very short snippet, but you know, I'm sure WWE wasn't happy with that because they're the ones that are providing content, their pay-per-views to ESPN on that app. That's the only way you can watch it in this country.
Well,
Uh,
I think AEW would benefit itself quite a bit if it was able to somehow plug itself in to, just, again, like you kind of point out with Danhausen, that Danhausen, is was sitting there in the midst of all the talent they had in
well, it
AEW,
was
and
like
they just
Jade
weren't pushing
Cargill. A
it.
lot of these ones, it's almost like AEW at times could be a farm system. WWE plucks them when AEW has, you know, built them up as much
That's
as they
right.
can. And
That's right.
Jade was over big time. She had a long time winning streak in AEW. And Cody, you know, he came back bigger and better.
Right.
You know, after he did all of the indies, which
And
included, of
CM
course,
Punk.
APW.
And
Yeah,
CM
Punk.
Punk.
They have WWE keeps winning in this battle of getting talent, and the latest
Yeah,
guy
but
is
Tony
Danhausen.
Rose and Swerve Strickland are much bigger in AEW than they were in
True.
WWE.
But don't you think it's
And
only a matter of,
Ricochet. Ricochet's the biggest star in
Yeah,
AEW.
he's
but
doing well. But
but
though
don't
Ricochet's not a major player. Tony Storm is. She is kind of that face of the company, just behind a tad behind MJF after whatever Tony's heat with Britt. Tony easily assumed that because she's so entertaining.
But I'm
And
just saying it works both ways because there's three people that are much bigger in AEW than they were in WWE.
but Lashley doing pretty good for a while, but off TV now, well over almost 3 months now.
Shelton Benjamin's a bigger star in
Yeah,
AEW than
yeah.
he was
They're
in
using him much
WWE.
better. Yeah, yeah. It goes both ways, but it's a little more skewed to the top of the
and
card
the
with CM
ratings are
Punk and
showing that the
Cody.
WWE is winning that as far as that goes. The ratings are showing the WWE is getting more of the lion's share of ratings than AEW. AEW has been getting some crappy
They've been
ratings recently.
increasing, but they're nowhere near WWE's numbers, and they
Yeah.
probably never will get to that level.
WWE had a 40-year head start. People forget that.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, and now with
I'll tell you one
TKO,
thing, I never fast forward through AEW. You know, I do, you know, when stuff gets a little bit boring or repetitive in WWE, I don't fast forward through AEW because the matches are too damn good.
yeah, I mean, I'm not. I mean, the in-ring action. There's a lot more of it. You get to see a lot. I mean, what the other day there was a WWE event on. I think it was what it was SmackDown, and in 2 hours they had four matches.
They had 33 minutes, and they said with the commercials during those 4 matches, it was 21 minutes of actual wrestling on SmackDown in 2 hours.
You guys don't know SmackDown since the start of the year they went back up to 3 hours, which is brutal to have to
Then
watch and
three
fast
hours,
forward.
yeah. I'm just saying
Effing
21
three
minutes of
hours.
actual in-ring action, which
How
is
can you book 4 matches in 3 hours? And
because it's all
really,
about who's talking to each other.
but how can you think
Well,
that
some
that
of the,
is?
they've been having a lot of these gauntlets, stupid things that could be a half hour, 35 minutes right there. These gauntlet matches, they can
But they
waste a
weren't.
lot,
The
kill a lot of
matches
time.
weren't that long. They were
They've
just.
been having some gauntlets, but
But each
let
minute
me ask you both,
includes.
because Evan watches the product. When you get a pay-per-view quality Dynamite, and it's 2.5 hours, and then they have a pretty damn good, close to Great Collision the Saturday night before a pay-per-view. How inclined would you be to cough up 40 or $50 for a pay-per-view when you've already had 5 hours plus of amazing shit on free TV? I don't know about giving away. I mean, every single match sometimes on Dynamite is, pay-per-view quality and great.
True. And, even on top of that, I've been trying to watch some of the NWA Power stuff that's online. And those matches are fun to watch. And then, I love the studio audience setting that they have going on. They've
Well, if you
mixed
want
it.
to see good that era, go to Georgia Championship Wrestling in the studio. There was nothing
I am
better.
watching that, but the modern stuff that's going on right now by NWA Power is not bad. The
You're
guys
talking
that
about Billy Corgan. Billy
Yeah,
Corgan's
the
over
Billy
there. Yeah,
Corgan
yeah, yeah.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Everybody
Yeah, yeah,
loves
yeah.
that.
It's that I've been
It's
watching that.
great.
And I like the talent that they're bringing in there. They've got some good guys, and gals that are wrestling. They have a lot of talent, and the in studio atmosphere is something I enjoy watching, as opposed to the gigantic arena shows where it takes guys 20 minutes to have a ring entrance because the ring entrance is in another zip code than where they're actually, where the ring is, right? You
Ross,
know,
before we go, tell what's on your shirt there.
That's the Giants, Los Gigantes, which unfortunately,
The Giants.
it was opening weekend this weekend for the San Francisco Giants. Somebody didn't inform the Giants offense that it was opening weekend, and
Well, it was the
your
Yankees coming in.
Yankees. You're a Mets guy though, aren't you? So the New York Yankees came and just pummeled the Giants from pillar to post. The Giants scored 1 run in 3 games.
I thought we wouldn't do a show because there's a big Warriors game tonight
It
on
is. I
NBC.
mean, I'll catch the second half. It's I've kept my corner of my eye on it, but it's against Denver, but it's not gonna. I will probably gonna lose
Evan,
anyway.
what's going on with the Knicks? They seem to be every year people they have high hopes, and I don't know what the hell happens.
Um, the Knicks have, for the most part, sucked for 50 years,
Oh,
and
jeez.
disgusting greed mongers, much like the WWE. $350 to sit up on top in the nosebleeds to watch them
Oh,
lose year after year after year, and inevitably they collapse. And
Yeah, last year you made it to the second round and people rioted.
yeah, yeah. So all that was not a good look for New York. And look, the players are tough and gritty, but they just don't, win the big ones. So what can I say? I was there in 69 and 73 because I'm 107 years old, and I was there for the championship teams, and it was electric. And what they turned it into is, much like what WWE turned, pro wrestling into. I just hate them with a passion. The front office anyway, not the players, of course, not the wrestlers, of course.
yeah.
But let me just say this, since I'm on that subject. I know we're running out of time. I'll make it quick.
Now we got time. We got time.
They,
Go
they
ahead.
did an interview with Shane Douglas. It's all over the media today. And he said it was absolutely disgraceful that a billion-dollar corporation let Kamala, go out the way he did. with no money and needing GoFundMe's, and he just put it all out there. So,
Uh,
of course, a portion of the incredibly empathetic fanboy community chimed in and defended WWE.
uh,
Let me say this. It's math, geniuses. It's math. No matter how much money these guys made, they worked over 300 days a year. They were on the road. They had to send money back home. Taxes ate a huge chunk out of it. Okay.
Medical costs.
Yeah, you needed 3 meals a day, hotels, etc., so on. Now, God forbid you got hurt, had to go to a doctor, and the math didn't work. It was they all ALL, they all pissed away fortunes on wine, women, and song. Most of them never made fortunes. It's not like Roman Reigns wrestling 22 days in 3 years, making 8-figure salaries.
Well, we know who made money. Vince McMahon made $8 billion personally.
no, when he was on our show, twice, and we were talking up that when he lost his leg to diabetes, and he said something like he made main eventing against the Undertaker and all these house
bucks.
shows.
$800.
It was a fraction of what Taker got, and Taker was still, relatively young in the business then. So
the math geniuses in the wrestling community were like, $800 is a lot of money. Not if it's WrestleMania, like the second or third match.
Yeah,
from
the casket match against Taker. Yeah, $800.
Yeah. So these guys were not paid what they were worth back in the day. They worked insane schedules. A lot of them didn't survive those schedules, and
we're seeing the results of that now. We're seeing these guys live terrible lives at the end, and it's tragic.
And wait, he isn't even in the effing Hall of Fame, is he? If somebody look that up, or when we go off, because I got to get going. But Kamala, James Harris, Sugar Bear Harris. What a sweet guy, what a great talent, all over the place, Mid-South and Memphis and everywhere else that he worked, and Dallas. And
he's against Ernie Ladd,
against friggin' Ernie Ladd, they had a fantastic match. So
Kamala is in the Legacy Hall.
All right, well, deservedly so, but he deserved the money that he should have been paid. His family did. He shouldn't have to go GoFundMe.
We were talking about the fact that the Triple H just personally is worth over $500 million.
They said him and Stephanie, one report said they're worth $500 million. Yes, together. So let's say that's exaggerated, and they're, quote, only worth half as much, $250 million. You think they could help the wrestlers? Come on.
Yeah.
But the fact that's insane is that Vince McMahon himself has $8 billion, and how many more years is he even going to be left on this planet? He's almost 80 years old.
Well, the way he's effing driving, not long.
Exactly.
Sir Mo needed $50,000, and they turned their backs on him, and the guy died. And how disgraceful!
Men on a mission.
And Bush.
I gotta go, you guys. But love to King Mo, and love and respect to obviously Kamala, all of our brothers. Ernie Ladd didn't have a lot of money at the end, and man, I urge you guys, go look up Ernie Ladd, the promos, the matches from the 70s.
I saw Ernie Ladd against
80s
Bruno.
stuff.
I saw Ernie Ladd against Andre. I was there. That guy was great. Believe me.
Yes.
Believe me. Yeah.
But the promos too. I mean,
you missed the birth of your mother and father. Don't miss this match. I love that.
Yeah, or that Andre the Giant so dumb.
Or Gene LaBelle would touch him interviewing Ladd, and Ladd would go, "You're not a doctor or a nurse. Don't you ever lay a finger on me."
Yeah.
But Andre the Giant so dumb, he spent all night studying for a blood test. So, anyway, guys, good to have you on the show. We'll see you all next week. Good night, everyone.
Check out my book before you leave.
Oh, yes.
Yes, a brand new book by Evan Gisberg.
Grindhouse,
It's terrific.
Art House, and Wrestling Flicks. And right behind me, my previous book, Wrestling Rings, Blackboards, and Movie Sets. Check them out,
Absolutely.
folks.
Absolutely. All right. Good
Don't
night,
you dare
everyone. See you
miss
next
them.
week.